Here's the terrestrial. It's the most accurate, it's the most dense, but it's the most time consuming when you're trying to scan a site for extraction. Place the control on the fly by the operators, or we can have the targets preset, and we were looking for an approach. It was like, wow, what if we could get this at the same time? You choose the appropriate method to meet the accuracy that you have. And there you go.
Next up is Russell Hall, Senior Survey Project Manager at Langan. Russell has over 23 years experience in land surveying, with the last 10 focusing on mobile mapping and additional reality capture methods. So please welcome Russell Hall and his proven data fusion strategy that cuts survey costs and field time by 50% or more.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to get into this as a method that we've discovered here at Langan about reducing costs with the field effort for capturing reality in support of our survey. Is any, can I see a show of hands who here is in survey? Oh, great. Okay, this is very applicable. If you do survey and reality capture, this is it. So that's me. I have 22 years now of experience as a land surveyor. 10 years I've been working with reality capture. Started off with terrestrial laser scanning and then moved into mobile, and you'll see later, I enjoy very much scanning, all facets of it. So, and then, I oversee the mobile mapping group and all the extraction that comes through in Langan that we do. We do, geotech, site civil, environmental, all that stuff. I'm not going to dwell too much on that. And then here's where we are. So we are in quite a many places: West Coast, East Coast, some spots in Canada, Panama, London, and now let's get into it. So there's a quick agenda. I'm just going to go over the 4 types of LiDAR that we use. It's probably the 4 types of LiDAR we all use in this room. I'm going to talk about what data fusion is in this specific case, and then we're going to go through the approach, the workflow that we got. Data fusion can mean a lot of different things, right? I mean, you could take a pivot table and whatever, a text file. That's you're fusing data. It's definitely a huge buzzword. What it means in this case that I'm going to explain to you is I want to have 2 point clouds that are cohesive. I don't want to just fly drone LiDAR, have it be 1/10 off from our mobile scan. That's not what I'm going to refer to as data fusion. I'm talking about making these registered cohesive from 2 different LiDAR sources. And you're going to get to see a middle-aged man very happy scanning all of these different approaches. So here's the terrestrial, right? Everyone knows, it's the GOAT, right? It's the most accurate, it's the most dense, but it's the most time-consuming when you're trying to scan a site for extraction, right? So then we get into the mobile, another happy Russ, and you can see. So basically, it's the next most or the second most accurate point cloud, I would say, in my experience, as far as the way to constrain it, and it's very dense. So obviously, this is going to be the focus of this example, is how we use our TRK and how we're fusing data with it. Next, we got the drone, and I just wanted to get these images in so they kind of show like the weakness or the strength of each point cloud. So right here, obviously, you can look under the eave. That's a weakness of drone LiDAR or anything close to the building, and that's why a lot of job sites we use mobile mapping on it. If it's mostly impervious, we've gotten really good at scanning sites, and we'll go into that shortly. And then finally is the BLK. We're a full Leica shop at Langan, so everything I'm going to show you is Leica devices. The platform that we're going to use is 3DR. If you're not familiar with it, it's Leica software. It's agnostic for any of the data you bring in, but your mileage, I've only tested it with these devices. I'm going to say Leica devices. So your mileage may vary. All right. So why would we go through and do like an assembly line process and mobile map 3-4 sites in a day? Obviously it's efficient, right? It's very efficient. We can just attack different sites. We can either place the control on the fly by the operators, or we can have it the target's preset when the crews go out there and measure buildings or measure inverts, get the boundary. In an ideal world, the point cloud is denser and it is more accurate. So why we would use this over drone LiDAR, ADA, you got touchdowns, you got, very accurate 1/4 inch type stuff. We're able to see that with mobile, the same you would with terrestrial. And then this is a proactive approach instead of reactive. So The goal here is to scan everything on site, one shot, one kill, not send a field crew back to pick up missed shots, right? It's the same Achilles heel as if you just went out and surveyed it traditionally and you forgot to set a benchmark or you missed one shot, right? And then that's the killer. You got to go back out. So that's what this is, at its core, that's what it's about, is just trying to be efficient. And another reason that we like mobile scanning or ground scanning too is for the viewer, the true view, or any of the viewers. It's just nice to give to the client, stakeholder, engineer, whatever it is, just having the true view, or for extraction, having Google Earth type imagery. And like I said before, one deployment for all acquisition. That's the goal. So this is a typical site, any town USA. And you can see right here in RGB, we got a couple holes, right? So we got about 90% of the site. So this is the kind of site that we would choose to use mobile mapping for. We were on and off site scanning in an hour, done. On and off site with the TRK. So I'm gonna go into a classified view, and you can see this is all that's missing. So it's just a few shots that we need to get, right? So it kind of, we started looking at it and we were looking for an approach. It was like, wow, what if we could get this at the same time instead of in a field crew back to clean up, right? And then that lets us play with the order of things happening. So now we could get the boundary and inverts up front, this come through with the scanner and never have to go back to the site, right? That's the goal. Obviously, there's different variables that can happen, but that's what we're striving for. And now we'll get into the workflow. This is just splash screen. So on the TRK, what we're able to do is we can see a point cloud live. So this is a sample of that on the tablet. So because we have this live preview, we're able to identify the holes right there. So we just screenshot it. So now we know all of our coverage. And this is, I'm sure Briegel and Trimble and all them have it, but this is on the TRK. This is what you would see. I apologize, these slides were out of order, but this is the live preview. So it lets you see everything that you're acquiring. And then this is how we would identify any holes that we'd have to fill in. I'm not gonna make you watch the whole thing. It's very riveting, right? So we're gonna get into the workflow. So you can see this is Western Philadelphia. I'm not sure if anyone's ever been there before. I highly recommend you don't go. You can see why Will Smith wanted to get out of there. I would too. And that's why we were scanning it. So we went through with the TRK, put it on a put it on a UTV. We were able to scan on sidewalks and get behind some of the shadowing, but we still did have areas that were too narrow. So this is where the BLK comes in. The workflow I'm gonna tell you is a little different than the standard Leica workflow. If originally using the Leica workflow in Register 360 and feeding it the control, what I was finding was it was coming off in sometimes up to a tenth. You guys, the most of you are surveyors, you understand that there's different accuracy levels for different things and how things are collected in the field. So you choose the appropriate method to meet the accuracy that you have. For me, walking with the BLK a couple thousand feet or something and trying to feed it control, because of the way the registration worked, on impervious surfaces, I was coming off, once in a while, coming off a tenth. So I worked with Seth at Leica, and the workflow we found was just to kind of keep it between 200 to 400 foot walks, and then just dump it in the Register 360, separate, and you can see the scans, the site maps, and then just punt out E57. And you could probably just punt out E57 just straight from it. I'm just old school. Like if something works in the process, I don't want to deviate from it's my control, It's probably, I should probably loosen up with that. But so then we get the E57 files. They're all in 00, just separate them. I don't link anything together unless I really, really feel like I need to link two passes together. So this is what we see. So this is the spherical. For those who have never seen BLK to go data or the ARC or anything like that, you get the spherical. It actually, I believe, it's always capturing imagery. When you import it, you could set it at the interval you want. I usually do, if it's something like row housing or something, I would do 33 feet. But if you're in a field or anything like that, I would crank it to maybe 200 feet, and then you're gonna have your forced panos for areas of interest. This is the secret sauce here. We run them over our mobile targets whenever we can. So now we have the common targets. However, and I'll show you, you can use whatever you want. You guys are surveyors too. if you're behind a building and all you're missing is a ground shot at a corner of a pad, you could just use the corner of a pad. You know what I mean? Like if you're, you know how a ground shot's taken. How many people put topo boots onto ground? You know, it's going to sink a couple hundreds. You could use an expansion joint of a curb this way. You could use anything you want. You could use other striping. I'm just going to, the tightest way to get it constrained, obviously, is use some kind of corner of striping or a chevron or a target. So now we're into 3DR. And if anyone's not familiar with 3DR, I have a little video at the end that I can show you. It's a great program. Leica's got a booth down there. You guys could check it out. So you can see I have the two clouds now. And we're going to do what is called an endpoint registration. This is the way I've been able to get all the clouds to constrain under 400s, usually around 200s. So you can see it's very simple. We're just doing a translate rotate, right, for all intents and purposes. We're going to pick on the new cloud, and then on the right, you can see that's the TRK cloud. And then this is going to be very difficult to read, so I will tell you. So we got it constrained. It's a 200ths on X, 300ths on Y, and 1,000th on Z, which is kind of a, the SLAM clouds are a little bit thicker. I would say, I feel comfortable saying it's within a few hundreds, always, because just the noise in SLAM. And there you go. Here's a cross section. Blue and red, you got TRK and you got BLK. You can see this. So there was actually a bore head misalignment for a few hundredths, and you could see it stuck to the front edge. This is good. This is really good infill. These were taken like 6 hours apart. So then you can, what do you do with it? So now from here, you can export the E57 and it'll be rotated into the correct coordinate system. That from there you can export. You could bring the imagery and LAS file into TopoDot, or you could stay in 3DR. I just extracted some stuff that would look better in 3D. So I got the eave and I got the top of fence, but obviously you can do it the normal way and pull the normal typical features out. And then here's Yale. This is one of the few projects that we performed this type of work on that I can share. And it also looks pretty cool. This is I rarely show color point clouds because it frustrates me when cars are in the way and it blasts the car all over the side. So whenever I get a nice clean street, I always like to show it off. So same thing, right? We got cars in the way. We got a couple walls that go down. So I have them circled here so it's easy to see. I'm going to change it to yellow just for the sake of visualization. And then here comes the BLK. So this was a bunch, this was a quarter-mile street. We broke it up into like 3 walks. Again, we're talking 20 minutes. Should work with any scanner that you can export at E57 with this process. And then you can see here the strength of this. So where that purple is, where I have it circled, that would be a ground shot, right? So that extra 10-minute walk just saved bringing a crew up. So if I had 1 day for capture and had to send a crew back out for a day, and now I don't, that's 50% of my crew time cut. So that's where that comes in. And you can see how well this is mashed up. Look at the tree. And these two were taken several days apart. So it really works well, and we've been very pleased with it. We use it primarily for supplemental. I wouldn't go out and just slam everything and do it that way. I wouldn't want to extract off that data either, but for infill, it's fantastic. And that's really it.